Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the 360-degree camera and welcome back to my car. And for anyone who knows me may know that this is an unusual proposition. In fact, up until a few years ago, you might have said, "Hey, is Neil in a car?" And I would have said, yes, as a passenger. For you see, I have ridden motorbikes since I was in college. Mum passed her motorcycle license, motorcycle test, and she gave me her Honda Rebel CA125 to learn to ride on. Well, I say gave, I borrowed it. I borrowed it while I was in college, passed my test, and then got a Honda CX500. Later on, I got a Honda CX650, and then the last motorbike I had was a Kawasaki ER6F 2009, and it looked like a baby Kawasaki Ninja. So that's kind of where I am in terms of motorcycles and things. And I've been riding for a very, very long time. But there is a problem with riding a motorcycle, and that is that you frequently almost die, but not in the ways that you think you might actually die on a motorcycle. I like riding a motorcycle basically in the same way that that Finn rides his motorcycle in the beginning of Tron Legacy. Very, very smoothly, using long sweeps and curves, keeping an eye on the road surface, making sure there's no leaves, crisp packets, wet drain covers and all that sort of stuff, potholes as well, and keeping an eye on the eyes of other drivers to make sure they've noticed you. And if you are spending a lot of time keeping yourself safe, a motorcycle is a fairly safe proposition. However, the weather is not. When you go out on a motorcycle, well, it might be sunny like today, in which case you get very hot and sweaty. It might also be raining, which means you get wet. Water comes in off your chest, so it hits you in the chest, it goes down into your crotch. Sorry, but it's where it goes. It comes off the fuel tank, down into your lap. That's exactly what I was going to say. And no matter how good your waterproofs are, eventually it's going to come through the zip, come through the seal, and you are going to end up sitting in a lot of water. Can we get around this lad? Yeah, we can. He wasn't going too fast. So yeah, you end up with boots full of water, a lap full of water. I mean, once you've felt the first pinprick of water enter your underpants, your undercrackers, your downstairs, your unmentionables, the game is over. The game has not changed. The game never changes. No matter how much you spend on waterproofs, you'll find that, oh, it's a Kawasaki Ninja, big boy Ninja. You'll find that eventually, yeah, water ingress into your nether regions is a factor. So that was just part and parcel of riding a motorbike. What was a bit more alarming is the number of times that I got hypothermia. You see, this is England, and people from Canada say, "Oh, England is warm all year round." People from Australia say England is cold all year round. It's kind of a perspective thing. If you're an Antipodean, this place is cold and wet. If you are from Canada, this place is warm and wet. But there is one incident that I can bring up from all my years of riding that happened a few years ago when I was riding to my dad's house, which is, let's say, a couple of 100 miles away, because it is in fact a couple of 100 miles away. So I live in Cornwall and Dad doesn't live in Cornwall. The family is kind of spread out. One of my sisters does not live in Cornwall. So in order to visit them, you have to leave. And it is a very long journey, a long way away. I'm going to come down here because it's very narrow here. I forgot, this is an Ancledra, by the way, we're about to go through. So we're going to go through here, but these are the Ancledra Narrows. It narrows on both sides of the town. So anyway, I was going to go visit Dad, and it was November 2017. So I did what I normally do. I have a top box, a hard top box on the motorcycle. I put on my underpants, all my clothes, all my wash gear, everything that I need in the top box. And then I go to work. And you go to work and at the end of work you jump on the bike and you can just ride the 4 hours it is to Dad's. So that was a thing. But that particular day was cold, very, very cold. It was -4 degrees Celsius, which is something like 25 degrees Fahrenheit, 29 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know Fahrenheit. It was kind of around that area, but it was definitely -4 degrees Celsius. And it was cold on the way to work, but I was prepared for this. For you see, I had more kit than I needed in my backpack. Now, you don't usually carry a full backpack a long journey because the straps will cut into your shoulders and make your arms go a bit noodly, a little bit numb. However, oh, by the way, the good thing about the Narrows is following a bus, everyone gets out of the way of the bus. So we can get through because the bus is wider than we are. It's the one time you do want to see a bus in front of you. Anyway. Yeah, it was negative, oh, a recumbrant. Wow. Okay, that's brave. Anyway, it was -4 degrees in the morning, so I went to work. I did a full day of work, by the way. YouTube is not my job. I got to the end of work, jumped on the bike, and I had my gauntlets on my gloves. I had cycle gloves underneath my gloves. I had a t-shirt, I had another t-shirt, I had a shirt, I had a sweatshirt, I had my bike jacket, I had my jeans, my over trousers, my armoured over trousers, and I had my boots and my helmet and a neck warmer. I was prepared for the Arctic. What I wasn't prepared for was the day hadn't warmed up, and by the time I jumped back on the bike it was once again -4 degrees Celsius, which is a bit of a bummer. Especially since I was riding out of Cornwall. I was riding on the A30 and I crested a hill and it was twilight and my heart dropped. For you see, it was bloody cold, very cold, and the sky was crystal clear. Not a cloud in the sky, the stars were just bright pinpricks in a mauve sky. And it just got colder. The more I rode, the colder it got. And it was just that one particular day. It didn't happen any other day. It was just that day when I decided to ride 200 miles in the evening into night up to visit my dad. So yeah, started getting the shivers. A little bit at first, and then eventually the shivers turned into full body shakes. That is not good at all. So I had the full body shakes, and eventually that will calm down. And I was kind of riding using friction on the gloves. So the gloves were holding the throttle open using friction, but I was aware that I couldn't feel my hands, nor could I feel my feet. So by the time I got to the motorway, Exeter services are a good place to fill up because the motorcycle only carries about 120 to 140 miles of fuel. So I got to Exeter services, I turned off the motorway, I kind of realised that I couldn't feel my feet to change the gears down, so I just kind of kicked with what I assumed was my heel. My hands were numb, but I could use my wrists to operate the levers and friction on the glove to operate the throttle. Yeah, that was kind of bad. That was a bad situation. So I got into Exeter services, parked it in a car parking bay, turned the engine off and had to wait. About 5 minutes before I had enough feeling in my feet in order to walk again. And then I got into the service station proper. So the service station, there's like an area with shops. It's kind of like an airport. You go into the foyer and then through between all the shops in order to get to the toilets, because they want you to buy very expensive muffins. However, I got into the service station, sat down on a bench, took my helmet off, took my gloves off, opened my jacket, laid down on my side, and then the horse is coming the other way. That's a bit of an issue. We're gonna have to wait for this lot to clear. And then there was the most painful thing that I have ever experienced in my entire life. The blood coming back to my hands, the feeling coming back into my fingers and toes was insanity itself. So yeah, it was the most painful thing I've ever experienced. By the time I got to my sister's place, well, I got to Dad's and then we visited my sister, and one of the things I did was go and buy new gloves, but I also was already in the market for a new car, something that could sit in traffic, something that would be okay not moving if we happen to not be moving. There are in fact cars coming the other side of the bus. So it had to be comfortable not moving, it had to be comfortable cruising a couple of 100 miles, it had to be fuel efficient, and it had to have air conditioning. I saw one of these in traffic driving through Bristol. I was quite impressed. I loved the shape of it. It's like they took a concept car and they were like, yes, this is what we want. So took a concept car, added a hybrid drive to it, added an auto box. So you just select drive. You don't need to. There's no high or low or anything. Yeah, I saw this. I immediately went to the Toyota dealership when I got home, walked in, I said, one of these, I'd like to sit in it. I passed my driving test back in college when I passed my bike test. Sat down in it, the guy was really, really helpful, like super helpful. I can't fault Toyota at all for the way they handled me as a customer. So I walked in, we sat in one, I drove it for a bit. I was a bit worried because I hadn't driven a car in ages. And it was, honestly, this is like driving a car in GTA. If you replace the steering wheel with a controller, you basically know how to drive this car. There are two buttons on the floor. One pedal is go, the other is stop. It's got a continuous box. There's no gear shifting at all, a continuous drive. I mean, this compared to the motorbike, it's warm. I can drive around in a t-shirt all year round. Having aircon is brilliant. There are some downsides to having a car over a motorbike. I can't just go past everyone like I'm, I want to say shit off a chrome shovel. Greased lightning, there we go. You can just drive past everyone. You never have to sit in traffic in a motorbike. You don't have to pay for parking in a motorbike. Paying for parking is a new thing. Going in and getting a little ticket and sticking it to the windshield, or actually using the app on your phone to pay for parking. Yeah, these are new experiences, and having to wait for buses. Oh, and the car being wide. I have to get used to wide vehicles and not taking my wing mirrors off. Yeah, and actually keeping an eye on the road. Which you do have to do on a bike, but it's a lot easier on a bike because you don't have the pillars. You don't have the A pillar, the B pillar, the C pillar, and these things have airbags in them. So in the event of an accident, this interior turns into a marshmallow. The steering wheel, the dash, the skirts, everything just pops down or out or whatever. So it's oh, by the way, we're in St Ives now. Yeah, it's an interesting vehicle. It's a learning experience going from a motorbike to a car. I had to get rid of the motorbike. It's too expensive to have both of them, and the insurance for both is kind of crippling, and the maintenance and everything. Would I have a motorbike again in the future? Absolutely, but I think I'd like a crosser, like a rallycross bike, or something like that. Something simple, something with carburetors. A lot of bikes these days have a lot of electronics and stick plugs instead of actual spark plugs, so keep it simple. But yeah, so the reason I'm in a car rather than a motorbike is that one time I nearly died. I nearly died from hypothermia, and the warm-up phase was super painful. So I'm going to keep going, because we don't need a Mexican standoff. That guy's going to keep going. So St Ives, not designed for the car, but we're not going to go into town. We're going to turn around the back way and go up the top. I got to go around you. Everyone's driving like they're crazy. Oh, and not a lot of spaces for parking. No off-street parking here. So if you have an electric car, there's nowhere to charge it, which is the folly of electric cars of the future, which is why I think after this, which is a hybrid, I'm thinking I might actually go for a hydrogen-powered one if that comes online, something like the FCX Clarity. I'm kind of just talking now because I know that in a minute we're going to rise up, and he has seen us, because this turns around to the right, but not a lot of people know that this is where the road goes, and that's not a junction. Yeah, we're just going to rise up over the top of St Ives, and I'm hoping the camera can actually see it. So we'll just keep on for a few more minutes. There we go. Just get a little bit of St Ives in Cornwall. This is St Ives in Cornwall, by the way, and that down there is the Down. Yay! And the sea, and the bay, and this is where I grew up. This is where I live. Not specifically St Ives, I'm not telling you that. That's secret information. I live in a bunker under the sea, somewhere out there. Good. Well, I'm glad we could have this conversation. I'm going to leave it there for the time being. So if you like these vlogs, definitely leave a like, leave a subscribe, and if you do subscribe, click the little bell because that'll give you notifications when videos go live. And I'll tell you what, I'll catch you next time.